Most players at 1-2 and 1-3 live never realize how easy it is to jump from average to awesome. After coaching dozens of players to winning stacks like these regularly and crushing the game over thousands of hours myself, I found 5 clear moves that instantly boost win rates and that most players never try. So in this video, I'll reveal these strategies and walk you through putting them to work at your local card room right now. To show you the first strategy, we're going clubbing. You've been practicing your sexy moves in front of the mirror, the spins, the footwork, the timing. Tonight's the night to finally show them off. But when you step onto the dance floor, you realize it's packed. Bodies everywhere, elbows flying, drinks spilling, you can't move the way you want to. Every time you find a little space, someone bumps into you and steps on your toes. It's chaos, and no matter how good your moves are, you're not going to shine in this crowd. And that, my friend, is exactly how live low-stakes poker is. You raise your shiny king-queen offsuit in early position, more than half the table calls, and you suddenly realize you're on that same crowded dance floor again. You flop top pair and feel good for a second, but then someone bets, someone calls, someone raises behind them. Even if your moves are better than everybody else's, there's just too much chaos for your skill to matter. Multi-way pots are exactly like that. The more people join in, the less room there is to play well. The edges shrink, the luck grows, and even solid hands can get stepped on fast. So what's the solution then? If you want to actually shine, you have to find a smaller dance floor. One where you can show all your best dance moves, like this. And how do you do that? Well, you need to avoid multi-way pots as much as possible, because that's the only way how your skills can actually shine through. But how do you avoid multi-way pots? Well, there are 2 ways to do it. Of course, there are situations where it's trickier, for example, when you open in early position. But if you are in middle or late position or in the blinds, avoiding multi-way pots is actually easy. All you have to do is avoid calling. If there's a raise and a call in front of you, you decide whether you want to raise or fold, but not call. And the other way to avoid multi-way pots is to raise bigger when you do, especially in late position. And by that I mean really big. If there are 3 limpers to you in a 1-2 game, make it 25. You will sometimes still get 3 callers, but at least you then have the initiative and position in a big pot. This is how you want to exploit your loose passive opponents for maximum winnings. And if you want to know how to exploit every player at the table, then make sure to grab my free cheat sheet, Exploit Every Player Type, link in the description below. But even if you manage to get the pot heads up, you still have to avoid one of the big mistakes that I see from beginners and advanced players alike. And this is like a long-term relationship that's beginning to turn sour. There are signs there, but you just ignore them. Instead, you think back how great it was at the beginning, and you stay in that relationship for way too long until you're completely demoralized and maybe even all your money is gone. Again, this is exactly what happens to many poker players at the table. Although their relationship is not with a woman or a man, they are usually married to big pocket pairs. They hold pocket aces and then can't let go when the old man in seat 1 check raises the flop and then overbets the turn. Or they have pocket kings, an ace comes on the flop, but they continue to put money into the pot because they feel like they have to be rewarded for having had such a great hand pre-flop. But this attitude burns whole stacks. So how can you avoid spewing chips in this way? More than anything, you need a mental shift. You have to realize that with every card to come, your hand could get upgraded or downgraded. So if you have pocket kings and there's an ace on the flop, your hand is now second pair. That's not a huge hand, right? Or if your passive opponent starts putting loads of money into the middle, then your overpair isn't that amazing either. And if the flush comes on the river, even your set is nothing but a bluff catcher counter once your opponent bets big. So always make sure to evaluate the strength of your hand based on the cards in the middle and the action. And forget if your hand was great before the flop. If you're in the big blind with 9 deuce offsuit, 5 players limp, and then the flop comes 9-9 deuce, you wouldn't be saying,
"Well, my hand was terrible pre-flop, so I'd better fold it now."
And that means that if it goes the other way around, you shouldn't start piling money in. This next one sounds obvious, but even experienced low-stakes players forget it in the heat of battle. Let me show you an example. Say you raise ace-queen offsuit to 20 over a limper. Remember, we're going to try to avoid multi-way pots. And indeed, only the limper calls. Now, the flop is jack-10 deuce, giving you 2 overcards and a backdoor straight draw. You c-bet, the limper calls. The turn is a 6, you keep barreling. The limper keeps calling. And the river is another jack. You now really want to blast the opponent out of the pot, and you go all in. The limper doesn't even flinch and calls with 10-9 offsuit and scoops the massive pot. Now, if you don't know anything about this particular villain, such a triple barrel bluff might not be a terrible idea. But if I told you that this villain tends to call big bets with any pair, then this bluff seems terrible. Yet so many ambitious players will still attempt to bluff such a calling station. The reason is the same root cause as in the example above. They feel entitled to win a pot. In the previous example, it was because of their strong pre-flop hand. In the current example, it is because they know that they are much better than their opponent. So what's the solution for this? As soon as you realize if a player is call happy, you have to totally flip the script. You need to stop bluffing and instead value bet super thinly. And I mean super thinly. If in this example you have queen 10, that's when you can triple barrel for value against this opponent because you know he won't fold a pair. So don't bluff calling stations, but go for razor thin value. This exploit comes straight out of my cheat sheet Exploit Every Player Type that you can get totally for free by clicking the link in the description below. But all of the strategies I've shown you so far barely matter if you can't get the next one right, because imagine you are learning to play the guitar. When you start, you're not dreaming about practicing those scales up and down, you're dreaming about playing that impressive solo. But you can't play that impressive solo without having mastered those boring scales, and poker is exactly the same. I see so many players who are fascinated by big river bluffs and outplaying their opponents, but then they can't fold their second pair to a big bet, or they raise a7 offsuit in early position. Like the guitar player has to start with practicing scales before they can play that solo, we poker players have to master the boring fundamentals of our game. Knowing what hands to open in each position, having default sizes for raises and 3-bets, knowing what hands to call a raise with, all of these things. Yes, you won't be in the limelight by doing this, but you will be profitable. So focus on the fundamentals, especially pre-flop, before you start trying to outplay your opponents. And when you've mastered these fundamentals, there is one strategy that crushers use all the time while everyone else completely ignores it, except maybe some of the weakest players who ironically do the same thing, just not as successfully. So most players behave like me when I play with my old 1930s radio. I'm always worried to crank up the volume because I'm afraid it might damage the antique piece, so I always play the radio on a medium level and won't tinker around with it. But then one day a friend of mine came to visit me and decided to turn the volume dial up. I was nervous when he did it, but you know what? I could hear the music better after that, and the radio did not break. And this is the lesson every poker player should remember. You need to size bets according to what you want to achieve, not to what you think would avoid unwanted attention. In some spots, this could mean that you size your value bets much bigger than your bluffs. When great players have got the goods, they crank it up so everyone hears it, metaphorically speaking, of course. When they're bluffing, betting, they whisper just enough to stay in the song. As I said, weak players sometimes do that, but when they do it, they're totally predictable. You are, of course, also predictable when you do it, but nobody will notice it at 1-2 or 1-3. So how do you know how to bet the right amount? It's actually pretty simple. Always ask yourself this one question. What does my hand want to accomplish, and how much do I have to bet to achieve that? You won't always pick the best size, but simply thinking about it will get you closer to the right amount than if you just bet half pot every time. And then there is actually a sixth strategy that's absolutely crucial and will triple your win rate if you follow it. To find out what it is, watch this video next.